I'm Jamie S. Rich. I've been working in comics for 20 years. Join me as we dig a little deeper into how comic books are made and get to know the people who make them. This is From the Gutters.
So we are here today at Floating World Comics in Portland, Oregon, and we are talking with Ming Doyle, co-creator of Mara, artist on a variety of comic books, all of which we will talk about today.
Very good.
But this is the first, we just met for the first time this weekend at Stumptown Comics Fest.
We did indeed.
And it's your first time in Portland as well.
It is also that, yes.
Here, this is kind of maybe a left field question. How does it feel to be Ming Doyle right now?
How does it feel to be Ming Doyle? Well, pretty par for the course, I suppose. It's actually a good year to be Ming Doyle.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty nice. Because I'm doing my first mini-series ever, and that's with Brian Wood, and it's Mara, which you mentioned.
So he came with you, and he had Mara in some form when he
had
approached
Mara
you?
completely outlined, like the pitch and everything. He was like, I kind of wrote this, and I think you'd be a perfect fit, and if you want to do it, then it's yours, and there's no pitch.
Yeah, because your art style is so integral to how that story is told. It seemed like it was catered to you.
Well, Brian is an artist, a very good artist actually, and he comes from an intense art background. So I think he, more than any other writer I've ever worked with, has just a really innate understanding of how to tell a story through pictures, what kind of a pictures best tell a story, how to write a script for a composition on a page. He knows how to really bring out the best in artists too.
Because what I like about your work is there's like a graceful simplicity to it.
Oh, thank you.
Because at times, because I've talked to, I've worked with a lot of artists too, and there's often times where you tell them like, you don't have to draw a background every panel.
Well, it's something I'm working on.
Yeah. But the thing is, you will have a panel where it's the focus is the characters more so than the fantastic world around them, and you kind of move in and out of all of that.
Yeah, it's so important to have an establishing shot and to know where you are and everything. But I feel like some comics do suffer from choked composition, where it's like the artist wants to show, hey, look at this thing I can draw, and I can draw that too, and it's kind of almost like a bid for more work. Like they want to show off all the chops and be like, hey, I know the story isn't about floating cars, but look at the rad sick transforming floating cars in the background. And whereas, I did read some manga in high school, and I'm a fan of the more kind of like soap opera movies and the drama and the romance. So I kind of like to have, character moments interspersed with all of the background. Plus, backgrounds are hard. I'm getting better at them, but they're hard.
It's funny you mentioned establishing shots, because I think one of the few, like an actual establishing shot of any comics I've read in a while that sticks in my mind is the beginning of Mara, when you see the city.
Yeah.
And you did this great effect of showing all the traffic moving really fast. It almost looks like one of those time-lapsed photography.
Yeah. That's Brian, again, because that's his visual eye, because he's such a great artist. He'll give me keywords. And actually, when he pitched Mara to me, he was like, Starship Troopers versus My So-Called Life. Together, battling, becoming one. And I was like, I'm on at Starship Troopers. And for that specific time-lapse traffic panel, he was like, look at pictures of mega cities. Look at all these, like Dubai. Look at Tokyo. And I like the traffic should look like light trails. I was like, great. What looks good. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. And
I can't give him enough credit, really.
Yeah, because your inking in that really does capture that feeling.
And also the colorist Jordi Belair did a really awesome job, especially in Mara #1. The colors for the city were like so lurid, Mardi Gras Blade Runner. It was like really bright.
That's a great description.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like Blade Runner in the noir atmosphere and the neon and stuff, but it's like not that dingy. It's more Mardi Gras kind of party future atmosphere. So I liked it. She does a lot of good stuff.
How much of the coloring process is a collaboration between you and Jordi? Because there's full color elements, but there's monochromatic moments. The covers are also very striking in their visuals.
Yeah. Well, actually, Brian does the coloring for the covers.
Oh, I
Little known, uncredited tidbit, which is exclusively breaking in our interview.
That kind of makes sense now you say it, though.
Yeah, he does, because he's also a designer and an artist. He does the coloring for the covers. But there are monochromatic elements inside of the story too. And Jordy really determines all of the coloring choices. I trust her implicitly. She really knows how to make my lines look good. She knows her job, So I let her just do whatever she wants, but sometimes, she'll say, I'm not quite so sure about this. What is this supposed to look like? And bounce things off of me. But for the most part, I haven't gotten a page from her where I've felt less than like, this is amazing. This is how my art was supposed to look.
Right.
I'm so honored that you made it look that pretty. It's like coloring is really, I feel like, coming to the fore of the industry. In the last couple of years. I mean, there's so many more like what I would consider like big name superstar colorists lately. And it's like, it feels like before nobody really thought about coloring much outside of Dave Stewart.
Yeah.
They never really noticed it or anything. Whereas now with people like Jordy and Betty Breitweiser and just all sorts of people, they're like really taking it in all sorts of weird and cool directions.
Yeah, because you're even seeing like colorist names showing up on the covers.
That's a new thing. Yeah, well, on Mara it says, Wood Doyle Belair.
Yeah.
And it's really visually it's very much a three-way collaboration between all of us. Like, we all trust each other, but we help each other too. And we know where our strengths and our weaknesses are. We can get to each other.
So what was your gateway into comics? When did you discover comic books as an art form?
Yeah. Well, I read a couple of X-Men comics when I was around 10 or so. In the mid-90s, when comics explosion times were happening with Liefeld and everything. And so I read a couple of like holographic foil color comics. But I didn't really grow up reading them or anything. I did watch, the Batman and X-Men cartoons in the 90s because I was like prime age. I was 8 or whatever. But then I went to art school and I was majoring in painting and drawing, and I was thinking about pursuing a fine arts career. And all of my professors were like, "No, don't do that. Draw comics. Your art is it's like meant to be in comics." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." So I just started reading kind of like the typical greats like Year One and all that stuff to kind of get an idea of what they were. And just started doodling comics some more. And then when I graduated from art school, I had no job prospects, and I moved back home with my parents, and I was so bored. So every night at 3 a.m., I'd be just drawing fan art of Batman while I was rewatching the cartoons and posting them online. And then editors were like, "Oh, I see you have drawn a Batman. Are you interested in drawing a comic book?"
Because
That's kind of how it happened.
You seem to have come out of that element of fandom, because like the first stuff I saw from you was probably fan art.
Yeah, it's all traces back probably to Project Rooftop, which is a superhero costume redesign site. And I think a lot of people saw my takes on superheroes there, and I didn't get any like mainstream superhero job offers from that, which makes sense because I was drawing them wrong.
Right.
But I did get some offers, I think my first published thing was Pop Gun Volume 3 by Image. And I did a couple of like unpaid or smaller anthology gigs, and it just kind of went from there. So my career is directly attributed to fan art, which is kind of a weird thing because there's like a snobbish attitude about fan art. But
definitely when I started working in comics in the 90s, there was that real element of like calling it fan art was even in contention, because it's like, well, are you a professional or are you a fan?
But everyone is a fan at heart.
Yeah.
If you're interested in a thing, if you're a proponent of a thing, you're a fan of it,
Well, I feel like the internet's shifted that a lot. And you seem to actually be very agile of dealing with new media and the internet.
I try.
Well, because I became aware of your work seeing your fan art online, of seeing your cosplay online. Apparently you've done podcasts as well.
Yeah.
You're like in all the social media, so you do seem to be of the digital age.
I try very hard. Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, I tweet, I Tumblr, I Facebook, I Instagram. If there's a social media platform out there, I hop on it. And I feel like you have to do that as a self-employed freelance person, because you're your own boss. Nobody else is really looking out for you. There's no security or anything. So you kind of have to develop like your own brand, your cult of personality, whatever. You have to productize yourself if you want people to give you notice, give you jobs, buy what you're selling. you know? So a lot, it's silly, but a lot of my work day is tumbling and tweeting.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of reaching out to a community, trying to share my stuff.
Yeah, you seem like I mean, people always are asking me, how do you break into comics? And the model that I got in on is gone. Letters columns was the big thing that I would do.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I feel like you're kind of like the 21st century
Twitter is
success
the letters
story.
column.
Yeah.
Twitter is the letters column, because, you know, you see a creator or whatever that you like, and you just at them. Hey, I really dug your script or whatever, you know, and you can, it's so easy these days to start a dialogue with so many of these big name people. Whereas before it was like creators were kind of behind, like they're untouchable behind a red curtain, you know, like it was so mysterious. Nobody really knew the inner workings of comics. And now, for better or for worse, it's like all the secrets and the dirty laundry and the bright glittering behind the scenes stuff. It's all out there for people to see, whether you're in the industry or not. So.